Did you live with Elvis at Graceland?
No, Elvis had asked me. I know a lot of the women are going to hate me for this.
Yeah, they're going to say, "What, are you crazy, Ginger?"
It wasn't my way at the time.
Okay.
As much as I fell in love with him, I didn't feel it was the right thing to do. You know, back in 1977, I didn't do it, and I remember his exact words. He said, "I respect you for that." And but I was up there just about every single day. In the beginning, it was a little harder for me. I waited for him to call. We started calling each other every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I respected his privacy, and I was like, he's a busy man. I'll wait
Right.
until he calls me. So I would wait. But I was up there, 97% of the time, except a few evenings when I would be home and trying to get used to his schedule. And I would come home and sleep and go back because his days were nights and nights were days.
Right.
So I lost a lot of sleep in the beginning, but I was hanging in there.
I'm curious now, you're a 20-year-old girl with Elvis Presley. How did your family react to that?
As I said, my parents appreciated his music when I was growing up, and my father was in public relations in the Army and in recruiting, and he was at Kennedy Veterans Hospital when Elvis was inducted, and I met each other that day. My father actually loaned Elvis Presley a dime, make a phone call, and a couple of years later when Elvis was discharged from the Army, my father would stop by Graceland for some public relation tidbits, and he got friendly with one of Elvis's uncles.
Oh, okay.
And and Elvis would invite people to the fairgrounds sometimes, and the movies, and so Elvis's uncle invited my dad and my mom, so they actually got to go to the movies one evening with Elvis and another group of people. And then on another night, I was 5 years old that night, and our whole family got invited, as well as other people. And so I met Elvis that night when I was 5, and he patted me and my sister Terry on the head, and we got to enjoy the rides. And it was just, just the beginning of me seeing his generous, big-hearted nature.
Wow.
That about him.
That's really cool. Now, you and Elvis were engaged, right?
Well, yes, we were.
And did you two set a date? Were you talking about a date?
Well, yes, on the night, on the evening of I guess it was the early morning of August 16th, I was in Lisa's bedroom with him. We had come back from the dentist. We had made a quick trip to the dentist. He thought a piece of his tooth had broken off. And when we returned, he talked a little business with some people, and I was sitting in the room with him. We were watching television in Lisa's room, and at one point he turns off the TV, and he cuts his eyes at me, and he says, I've been thinking a lot about getting married lately. And he went into all this unbelievable detail, what he wanted the dress to look like. He didn't want it to be a three-ring circus. He wanted the limousine so many inches longer than a normal limousine and in blue. And it was a beautiful, beautiful moment for us. And afterwards, he talked a little more business, and we played a little racquetball that evening. He was having a problem sleeping because he usually did. That's one thing I noticed. He would usually wake more often before a tour, which I understood. He was a little more anxious, and I think we had a tour in 2 days, or starting in Portland, Maine, and he was having problems sleeping that early morning on August 16th, and he got up to go read in the bathroom, and that was the last time I saw him.
What kind of engagement ring did you get from Elvis? How many carats?
11 and a half carats.
Oh, my God.
I didn't find out until later that the stone was taken from a huge custom-made TCB ring that he always wore on stage.
Yeah.
And he let his jeweler, Lowell Hayes, remove the stone when he decided he wanted to get an engagement ring for me. And we got engaged on January 26th.
Do you still have that engagement ring?
Yes, I certainly do.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Special memories.
It is magnificent.
Man. If we can, I wanted to jump over to the CBS television special that your fiancé did for us here at CBS back in 1977. And my question is sort of about you. It is about you. Now, what went through your mind? I know in the special, Elvis introduced you. He was on stage and introduced you, and he asked you to stand up. Were you expecting that, or did he catch you off guard?
No, I sometimes I knew when he was going to introduce me, and sometimes I didn't. But I remembered, you could see him walking that way after he had just introduced his father, and I was like, oh boy, here we come. I could tell by the look on his face.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when he introduced me, he knew I was shy, and he got a kick out of doing that sometimes. And he introduced me many times, but to do it in front of the, in front of the world was something amazing. So I think when you watch me, you can see me kind of laughing. And
yeah, I can.
Quickly
yeah.
Sitting back down.
And then he says, "That's enough for you, Ginger."
Yeah, that's enough for her.
Did he talk to you about the CBS special? Like, not about necessarily your introduction, but like how he felt about it or doing it or...
No, I think this was sprung on him rather quickly because he sent my sister Rosemary and I in early June he wanted me to wear certain clothing for it, and he sent me there was a place called North Beach Leather in California. So we went, I believe, for maybe just a couple of days and flew out and bought some clothing. Mm-hmm. But I think this was sprung on him, and I know he would have wanted to lose a little more weight, and I wrote about how, for those shows that were filmed, and he was really nervous. He was exceptionally nervous for the first shows that were filmed. And when the makeup was applied to him, I'd never seen him wear makeup. And I thought it looked caked on and pasty looking and dark. And I thought, God, he looks so much more handsome without the makeup on. And then the makeup would run, and he would perspire a lot on stage and get into his eyes. And so I was worried about that, but I knew he was so nervous on stage, and it showed in his performance. But he sang his heart out, and then a few nights later, he was in better control, and he sang fantastic. And a lot of people don't see that. If you look at pictures, you can see the difference between how he may look a little more bloated at one point, and then when you see the images from like his Indianapolis concert, how well he looks and how much leaner he looks.